What if the most embarrassing moments in celebrity history weren't accidents? John Cena stripped near naked at the Oscars, Kanye parading Bianca Censori on the red carpet, Justin Bieber performing in his underwear at the Grammys. The media calls it weird, they call it fashion. But I've spent months going down a rabbit hole that reveals something much darker. A system of control that dates back centuries, hiding in plain sight on your TV screen every single night. These aren't glitches, these are rituals. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. They want you to think it's just entertainment. They want you to believe that when a megastar stands on a global stage, shaking, exposed or failing, it's just a viral moment or a glitch. But what if I told you that what you're watching isn't an accident? What if these are carefully orchestrated tests of loyalty that date back to the Dark Ages? Welcome to the world of the humiliation ritual. If you've been paying attention to the deep dive corners of the internet lately, you've probably heard the term being thrown around more than ever. But to understand why your favorite celebrities suddenly act so different, we have to go back. Long before the flashing lights of Hollywood, humiliation was a tool of the state and the secret society. Historians like Keith Thomas have documented how medieval societies used public shaming. Think of stocks, pillories, and the infamous backward donkey rides, not just to punish but to break the human spirit. It was about ego death. If the elite can take a man's dignity in front of his entire village, they own him. Fast forward to today, and theorists like Isaac Weishaupt argue that the invisible empire hasn't gone away, it just moved to the red carpet. On his podcast, Weishaupt famously broke down the 2009 VMA incident between Kanye West and Taylor Swift, calling it a textbook Illuminati initiation. He said, "It's like a ritual to channel spirits and assert dominance. One rises, one falls, and the public energy, the loosh, fuels the transition." But today, the rituals have become more overt, more desperate. Take a look at what happened with John Cena at the 2024 Oscars. One of the most physically imposing men on the planet, a WWE legend reduced to a punchline, standing nude behind a thin piece of paper. To the average viewer, it's a comedy bit. To occult researchers, it's symbolic emasculation. By forcing a hyper-masculine icon to degrade himself in front of millions, the handlers signal that no one, no matter how strong, is above the ritual. Andrew Tate even chimed in, calling it a gay paymaster initiation. Whether you believe the high-level politics or not, the symbolism of a protector figure being stripped of his dignity is a classic occult trope. Then there's the 2025 Grammys. This is where things got truly dark. Kanye West and Bianca Censori. For months we've seen Bianca in increasingly bizarre, restrictive outfits, but the Grammys was the reveal. She arrived in a massive black fur coat, only to drop it, standing nearly fully exposed in a sheer dress. To the masses, it's fashion. To the theorists, it's a pimping ritual. You have one of the most famous men in the world parading his partner like an object of sacrifice. The Tribune even linked this to provocative behavior by secret societies. One online theorist put it perfectly. They love a humiliation ritual in Hollywood. It's the currency of the elite, and it's not just the adults. Look at Jaden Smith. At that same Grammy event, Jaden was spotted wearing a miniature black house on his head. Quirky? Maybe. But look at the embroidery. Inverted symbols, specifically placed to signal a reversal of the natural order. When you're born into a Hollywood bloodline like the Smiths, the ritual isn't an option, it's a requirement. This ties directly back to Will Smith's own spiral after the 2022 slap, which many labeled an orchestrated event to channel spirits and reset the family's status within the occult hierarchy. Finally, we have the curious case of Doja Cat at the 2025 Oscars. Known for being a vocal powerhouse, she suddenly delivered a performance so pitchy and uncomfortable it felt sabotaged. On his podcast, Shane Dawson suggested that mic sabotage is a classic tool of elite control, a way to humble a star who thinks they've become too big for their handlers. Combine that with her recent demonic tattoos and her cryptic response to fans, "Your fear is not my problem," and the picture becomes clear. These aren't just bad performances or weird fashion choices. These are offerings. In the world of the occult, fame isn't free. It's a debt, and the collectors always come calling. From these stage spectacles, the story only gets darker. Because in Hollywood's scripted world, the actors aren't just performing, they're paying a price. But this is not something new. As we'll see next, Hollywood has always done this. They have used these debasement games to control stars since the 1920s. If you think the stage performances are wild, you haven't seen anything yet. To understand why the world's biggest stars are acting like they're under a spell, we have to look at the debasement game. This isn't just about bad PR, It's about a system of control that's been refining its techniques for over 100 years. Hollywood has always been a factory for souls, and since the 1920s, the studio system has used public humiliation to keep its property in line. Think about Fatty Arbuckle, one of the first true superstars, destroyed by a scandal that many historians now view as a coordinated effort to enforce industry morality codes. His career was destroyed after being accused of manslaughter in the 1921 death of actress Virginia Rappe. Despite being acquitted in a third trial and receiving a formal apology, the scandal and a subsequent industry ban ruined him. It was a modern version of the Masonic trials, where an initiate has to endure mockery and arduous trials to prove their loyalty to the Grand Master. In 1920, it was the courtroom. Today, it's the digital town square. As P.E. Moskowitz wrote in GQ, humiliation has become the currency of our digital age. But for the elite cabals running the show, it's more than currency, it's a weapon. Take a look at Robert Pattinson. In early 2026, he appeared on the cover of Interview magazine in a shoot that sent shockwaves through the internet. He was styled in a way that many called feminizing, featuring specific visual markers like high-contrast V-collarbone lighting that researchers linked to FTM female-to-male inversion symbols. Why would one of the most bankable leading men in the world agree to this? Because in the Illuminati playbook, emasculating a masculine icon is the ultimate signal of submission. It's the handlers saying, we can take the Batman and turn him into whatever we want. Then we have the tragic spiral of Will Smith. After the 2022 Oscars slap, which theorist Isaac Weishaupt called a textbook ritual to channel spirits, Smith's career didn't just dip, it was systematically dismantled. By 2025, his big-budget roles were flopping, and the rumors from insider circles became deafening. They said he was disconnected from the source. When you stop playing the game or try to break the covenant, the machine turns on you. His public ridicule wasn't an accident. It was a warning to everyone else in the A-list. But what happens when a legend fights back? Look at Denzel Washington at the 2025 Cannes Film Festival. A viral clip showed Denzel in a heated, awkward clash with a photographer. To the mainstream media, it was just Denzel being Denzel. But to those who know the history, it looked like a hit job, a deliberate attempt to capture a difficult moment to tarnish a man known for his integrity. It's a tactic they've used for decades. Remember Michelle Pfeiffer? She famously revealed she was rescued from a metaphysics cult in the 80s that took all her money and tried to control her every breath. Denzel has been vocal about his faith, and in Hollywood, that makes you a target for a reset ritual. Even the it girls aren't safe. Sydney Sweeney found herself in the middle of a bizarre eugenics backlash over an American Eagle jeans ad. Critics claimed the blonde-haired, blue-eyed imagery was a dog whistle, leading to a massive, coordinated effort to humble her. It felt like a scripted spectacle of failure. Similar to the early days of American Idol, where contestants were set up just to be torn down. If you get too popular too fast, the elite will find a way to drag you back down to earth. And then, there's Gwyneth Paltrow. In 2025, the Poop Scandal, or Poopgate 2.0, exploded, involving her Hamptons home and some truly debasing rumors involving her ex-husband Brad Pitt and a filthy guest. While the internet laughed, occult analysts pointed to her longtime ties to Kabbalah and ancient Druidic traditions. As rock legend Daryl Hall once said, "I spent years immersed in these traditions. I know how they work." In these circles, scatological humor and public image demolition are used to desensitize the initiate. They turn your goop into poop to see if you'll still follow the script. The message is clear. Whether you're a newcomer like Sydney or a titan like Denzel, the silver screen is just a veil. Behind it, the game is about spiritual surrender. As Hollywood crushes its stars under the weight of these rituals, the music industry's beats are pulsing with even darker rhythms, where the performers aren't just dancing for fans, they're dancing on the edge of damnation. The descent is accelerating. Are you ready to see what's happening in the recording booths? If you thought Hollywood was dark, wait until you hear the pulse of the music industry. We're moving from the silver screen to the recording booth, where the deals with the devil aren't just metaphors, they're stage-managed reality. In the music world, the humiliation ritual takes on a frantic, high-frequency energy. This isn't just about control, it's about Satanic Panic 2.0. We're seeing a wave of performances now that feel less like concerts and more like portals. To understand the why, you have to look at the history. Occult theorists often point to the Bohemian Grove, that hyper-exclusive redwood retreat where the global elite perform the cremation of care ceremony in front of a giant stone owl. It's a ritual designed to burn away human empathy. In the music industry, this translates to artists being degraded to normalize what researchers call the inversion, the flipping of sacred values until nothing is recognizable. As Lil Nas X cryptically posted, "Humiliation and power exchanges. It's just the initiation." He wasn't joking. Take a look at the 2025 Grammys. This ceremony was basically a 4-hour occult masterclass. First, there was Chapel Rowan. She took the stage in a queer-coded outfit that mainstream media called innovative, but the conspiracy boards on X were lighting up with a different label: Diet Lady Gaga Humiliation. The look involved heavy prosthetics and wine-hued veils that mirrored the Salome archetype, the biblical temptress who demanded the head of John the Baptist. By putting a rising star in the role of a sacrificial executioner, the industry signals that she has entered the circle of the initiate. But the real glitch in the matrix happened during Lola Young's performance. Her microphone failed completely for the first 30 seconds, leaving her standing in dead silence before a global audience of millions. On his podcast, Shane Dawson didn't hold back. That was a humiliation ritual, pure and simple. You don't accidentally lose audio for a rising star at the Grammys. Fans in the comments were echoing the sentiment. It happened to Lola, just like it happened to Doja. They're testing her to see if she'll crack. Then we have Justin Bieber. After years of staying out of the spotlight to heal, Justin returned to the 2026 Grammy stage in nothing but purple satin boxers and socks. No dancers, no lights, just him, bare and vulnerable. While his fans praised his raw talent, deeper researchers saw a payback ritual. Remember, Justin's name has been circulating in the Epstein-adjacent rumors for years. To see one of the biggest pop stars in history reduced to performing in his underwear feels like a public shaming. A way for the paymasters to remind him who owns the rights to his image. As one viral post put it, he's not being authentic, he's being stripped. And we can't talk about the music industry's dark rituals without mentioning the queen of the glitch, Britney Spears. Theories about her 2007 head-shaving incident were reignited by new leaks from her inner circle. While her memoir, The Woman in Me, described the act as a rebellion against being eyeballed, occult analysts argue it was an original escape ritual gone wrong. In many ancient traditions, shaving the head is a sign of mourning or a reset of the soul. Recently, Britney posted a video to Instagram with a caption that sent chills down everyone's spine, offering our lives to God forever if only. Was she signaling that the ritual she started in that Tarzana hair salon nearly 20 years ago still hasn't ended? The music industry uses these performers as conductors for the public's energy. When we watch them be humiliated, we're being conditioned to accept our own debasement. It's a descent into the underworld, and the rhythm is being set by people who never step into the light. But as the music fades, the ritual echoes somewhere even more dangerous: Silicon Valley. This is where the tech bros are trading their code for covenants, and the digital degradation is just getting started. Are you ready to see the pact the billionaires made? If you thought the music industry was dark, wait until you see the code being written in Silicon Valley. We are shifting from the stage to the server room, where the new high priests of our world aren't just making apps, they're building a digital cathedral. In Silicon Valley, the humiliation ritual takes on a cold, binary precision. This isn't just about PR, it's about techno-religion. We're seeing a wave of billionaire tech bros who seem to be participating in alchemical trials designed to test their loyalty to a transhumanist future. As researchers like Emil Torres have noted, the elite are obsessed with long-termism, a philosophy that prioritizes future digital trillions over living, breathing humans. To join this inner circle, you have to prove you're willing to sacrifice your own dignity at the altar of the algorithm. Even the world's richest man isn't exempt from the spectacle. While mainstream fans remember Elon Musk's 2020 release of the Tesla shorts as a hilarious troll against Wall Street, occult researchers see a darker subtext. To them, seeing a titan of industry, a man building rockets and AI, publicly marketing red satin hot pants for $69 is a form of tech humiliation. They argue that the handlers allow him his billions, but only if he's willing to play the part of the eccentric jester, effectively emasculating his image as a serious world leader for the sake of a meme. It mirrors the rituals we see in Hollywood and the NFL, where masculine powerhouses are forced into absurd attire to signal their submission to the globalist agenda. When you're building Neuralink and talking about symbiosis with AI, the handlers need to know you'll wear whatever and do whatever they say. Then there's the fall of the wonderkind, Sam Bankman-Fried. After he was sentenced to 25 years for the FTX collapse, the narrative shifted towards something much darker. Many theorists, including those following the Palisades research leaks, argue that SBF was an elite sacrifice. He was paraded through the courts, his nerd persona dismantled, serving as a public flogging for the entire crypto industry. It wasn't just about fraud, it was a warning from the traditional central banks. Don't try to build a system we don't control. Forbes even noted how these trials are often linked back to QAnon-adjacent stories about child trafficking and financial ritual, where billions are vanished as part of a larger power exchange. We also have to talk about Mark Zuckerberg. Recently, Zuckerberg faced another grueling round of Meta hearings in Congress. But look at the footage. He doesn't look like a CEO. He looks like an initiate being broken. Theories suggest these hearings are a penalty ritual for his perceived resistance to certain transhumanist timelines. As one researcher put it, the hearings are a public software update for his ego. By forcing him to sit in the arena of sacrifice, the congressional floor, the hidden elite remind him that Meta's digital afterlife only exists if he remains in line. It's not just the billionaires either. The ritual of the fix has trickled down to the engineers. In early 2026, a story broke about a lead engineer forced into a public 13-hour live-streamed fix as a reprimand for a minor bug. The Economic Times called it public humiliation, but the occult angle is more sinister. It's an inversion ritual, taking the creator of the code and turning them into a servant of the spectacle. And then we have the eccentrics like Jonathan Blow, the creator of The Witness. Blow has long been a voice of frustration in the Valley, but his recent rants about sinister everyday debasements like the intentional sadness of modern McDonald's designs took on a ritualistic tone. Ex-users tied his observations to the idea of normalization rituals, where society is slowly conditioned to accept ugliness and discomfort as part of a spiritual descent. Even actor Jim Caviezel, while promoting his recent projects, has been vocal about the dark covenants of the tech elite. He famously spoke about adrenochrome, claiming it's the worst horror and that the tech world's obsession with biohacking and blood plasma is just a high-tech cover for ancient predatory rites. When billionaires like Peter Thiel give lectures about the Antichrist and the velocity of money, they aren't just talking finance, they're talking theology. The tech world isn't just about code, it's about a pact. A pact to trade our humanity for a simulated choice in a world they control. Behind the glowing screens, the symbols are whispering the truth. But as the veil lifts, the symbols become impossible to ignore. Let's look at the Illuminati symbols and the satanic ties hiding in plain sight. So far we have focused on the what and the who, but now we have to look at the why. To truly understand the recent escalation of these rituals, we have to pull back the curtain on the occult underbelly, the actual symbols, the history, and the hidden threads that bind a Hollywood A-lister to a Silicon Valley CEO. We are talking about a vocabulary of the shadows that has been hidden in plain sight since the 1960s. If you want to understand the modern humiliation ritual, you have to look at the work of Kenneth Anger. He was an occult filmmaker who essentially pioneered the use of archetypal degradation in cinema. He understood that if you want to change a person's soul, you have to invert their image. This is what researcher Trance Blackman calls the great work of the elite, a slow-motion demolition of the human ego. We've seen this before. In the 1980s, the Satanic Panic and the McMartin trial were largely dismissed by the mainstream as hysteria. But today, researchers are looking back at those transcripts and seeing a blueprint. What was once called ritual abuse has been rebranded as viral marketing and performance art. As Cat Williams famously said in his Hollywood exposé, "They want to put a man in a dress to take his power." Cat wasn't just talking about fashion. He was talking about the inversion. In occult circles, taking a masculine figure and forcing them into a feminine role or vice versa is a way to neutralize their spiritual energy. It's a literal satanic agenda designed to blur the lines of the natural order. Take a look at Kid Cudi. Back in 2021, he wore a floral dress on SNL as a tribute to Kurt Cobain. But as we look at his career trajectory through 2025, the Illuminati connections have become impossible to ignore. Billboard and other outlets have noted the constant use of pyramid gestures and all-seeing eye symbolism in his visuals. When Cudi clapped back at the haters, he said he had time to shut down the noise, but the occult community saw it differently. A man who had completed his dress-wearing initiation and was now moving into the inner circle. Then we have the bombshells from Cat Williams himself. He began revealing the specifics of Diddy's parties and the secret rituals that take place behind closed doors in the hills. He described a system where fame is traded for acts of public and private debasement. When you see a star acting erratic or crazy on a 24-hour news cycle, you aren't seeing a breakdown, you're seeing the aftermath of a ritual they weren't supposed to survive. Even the giants of the conspiracy world are sounding the alarm. Shane Dawson, did a deep dive into the Taylor Swift-Kanye West bloodline theory. He argued that these megastars aren't just talented individuals, they are members of specific bloodlines chosen by the elite to act out these rituals for the public. The 2009 VMA moment wasn't a fight, it was a coronation. One star was humbled so the other could be elevated. As Shane put it, celebrity humiliation rituals aren't a theory anymore. They are a documented business model, and it's not just the big names. Satin Sanchez recently went viral on TikTok, a woman claiming to have insider knowledge from the witch doctor community. She broke down why so many female stars are compelled to shave their heads or brand themselves. In her words, hair shaving is a soul-selling technique used to cleanse the old identity, so a demonic one can be installed. She pointed to the head-shaving wave among pop stars as a sign that a major sacrifice or spiritual shift is coming. Finally, we have the meta-humiliations of Jim Carrey. For years, Carrey has been acting strange, but according to Trance Blackman's essay, Carrey's public existential crises and his mocking of the red carpet are actually a way of leaking the ritual to the public. Carrey is showing us the inversion in real time. By acting like a fool, he's highlighting the foolishness of the system itself. But even he has to bow to the Bohemian Grove nods, those subtle owl and fire symbols that appear in his more recent darker art. The veil isn't just lifting, it's being torn apart. We are seeing the symbols, we are hearing the whistleblowers, and we are connecting the dots. The occult underbelly is no longer underground. It's on your phone, it's on your TV, and it's in the music you stream. But while the past haunts us, the next 2 years are going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. The fire is spreading. Are you ready to see who's being prepared for the next sacrifice? We are currently living through the escalation. If it feels like the world has turned into a non-stop fever dream of weirdness and public shaming, that's because it has. We are witnessing the digital panopticon meet the ancient ritual, and the results are terrifying. Everything is now a humiliation ritual. In our hyper-connected age, the elite don't need a physical pillory in the town square anymore. They have your smartphone. The goal is normalization. They want to desensitize you to the sight of your heroes being broken, so that when the New World Order demands your own submission, you won't even blink. We're seeing this play out in real time, starting with the 2025 Miss Universe pageant. What was supposed to be a celebration of beauty turned into a spectacle of ego-driven degradation. When Miss Mexico was subjected to an accidental public insult during the broadcast, the backlash was instant. Researcher Cantu and others on X immediately called it out as ritual shaming, a way to humble a national icon on a global stage, to signal that even the most beautiful are subject to the whim of the handlers. But the ritual doesn't just happen to stars. It's being tested on the everyday elite to show us that no one is safe. Take the Coldplay Jumbotron scandal at Gillette Stadium. During the show, the kiss cam landed on a woman named Kristen Cabot and her boss, CEO Andy Byron, catching them in an intimate embrace. As the camera zoomed in, their faces transformed from joy to sheer, paralyzed horror. While the New York Times and mainstream outlets framed this as a viral accident or a lapse in judgment, the occult community saw the fingerprints of a low-level ritual shaming. Notice the timing. Chris Martin didn't just ignore it. He leaned into the microphone and joked, either they're having an affair or they're just very shy, essentially acting as the Grand Master of ceremonies for their public downfall. This wasn't a mistake, it was a surveillance sacrifice. By involving high-level corporate executives in a stadium filled with 70,000 witnesses, the handlers are expanding the ritual circle to the professional class. They are telling the audience, we see everything. We can dismantle your career, your marriage, and your reputation in 15 seconds of screen time. Kristen Cabot later told The Times it felt like a scarlet letter, proving that in 2026 the Jumbotron isn't for entertainment, it's the modern-day pillory. Then we have the orchestrated downfall of Meghan Markle. A series of most hated polls began circulating on sites like Ranker, which many royal insiders claim were manipulated behind the scenes. This is what theorists call a disapproval ritual. By constantly hammering a figure with public rejection energy, the elite starve that person of their spiritual influence. It's a modern-day shunning, designed to show that even a duchess can be turned into a global pariah if she stops serving the crown's occult interests. Even the newsroom isn't safe. The blackmail scandal involving Amy Robach and TJ Holmes saw leaked, intimate photos leading to a total career wipeout. On a popular conspiracy podcast, the hosts argued this was targeted humiliation for non-compliance. If you don't stick to the globalist script, your private life is harvested and used as a public sacrifice. The most polarizing escalation of the cycle occurred when the NFL handed the Super Bowl stage to Bad Bunny, a move occult researchers labeled a sovereignty reversal ritual designed to break the traditional American psyche. While the mainstream focused on his record-breaking streaming numbers, theorists pointed to the disturbing trajectory of his previous work, specifically the Purio subculture's obsession with theatrical emasculation and his 2024 music videos that utilized Santeria-adjacent imagery and decapitated figures to symbolize the death of the old world. By elevating an artist who famously subverts gender norms and mocks religious iconography to the center of the modern Colosseum, the elite weren't just booking a performer, they were performing a public inversion ceremony. On the world's most watched stage, the alpha archetype of the American athlete was symbolically replaced by the fluid initiate, signaling a total shift in spiritual dominance and a deliberate humiliation of traditionalist values in their own backyard. We are living through a great reset of human dignity. The elite are accelerating the timeline. They are inverting everything we hold dear, masculinity, femininity, privacy, and faith, and replacing it with a spectacle of the broken. So, I have to ask you, have you noticed the symbols in your feed tonight? Have you seen a celebrity do something so out of character it made your skin crawl? That wasn't a glitch. That was a signal. The stage is set, the symbols are screaming, and the next ritual is already in motion. Don't just watch the show, watch the hands behind the curtain. Stay awake, stay dangerous, and I'll see you in the next video.